suggest you go and check one out. Spontaneous, spontaneous, fast wit. Not like American sitcom, canned humour, rubbish. Just and Xena really charmed a lot of people with her wit. She was also into nature, and prisoners, some would take care of animals and they had pets, but others would taunt animals or kill them. And if Xena saw anyone doing anything like that, she would run and grab the animal and protect it and let it go through the fence. Like one of the first times I saw Xena, Bud was walking around with a scorpion holding it by the tail, one of these little ones that are the really deadly ones. And Xena was like, give me that, I want it. And Bud, who'd was a bit wary of Xena, handed it over. And you know about Xena's eyeball history, don't you?
Eyeball?
No. History with the eyeballs.
No.
Weren't these guys in the talk?
Yeah, they were.
How Xena stopped the gang raping stuff with the plucking out those. Did I not tell them that bit?
Maybe didn't get that.
Okay.
To tone it down or something.
Really?
Maybe I did.
Am I allowed to tell them now?
Yeah.
It's on the subject of violence. It's extreme violence. We'll get to that in a minute. Xena's actual story. Let me just finish answering the question. Xena was very kind towards animals. Xena was very funny, and Xena also had a boyfriend who'd never lost a fight on the yard since I'd been there. This guy did serious damage to people. Everyone he fought ended up in hospital for very long periods of time. And he was one of the guys who supported me when I got in trouble for writing about how the inmates were making syringes from commissary items. He said if anyone puts their hand on me, they're going to have to fight him. He stepped up for me. And the last guy he'd had a fight with was a Aryan brother, and that guy ended up having to have his face wired back together in hospital. And at the time he announced that he was protecting me, that guy was taking his food in through a straw so that he could eat. So people didn't want to mess with him. If they messed with Xena, they were going to have to answer to him.
So no one ever abused her or anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, Xena served 20-something years. Xena had been through a lot of abuse over the years. Transsexuals generally will click up with a tough boyfriend who'll protect them. That's one of the things that they do. Otherwise, they get prostituted out by the gangs. Now, when Xena first came in, she was a young person, weightlifter, big, didn't have the long hair and looked like a woman, and clicked up with the gang, Aryan Brotherhood, and it's blood in, blood out, and she crossed the gang and ended up getting gang raped. Yeah, and I can read you, if I can memorise it right now, a conversation I had with Xena about it. I said, what happened? The first time was a gang rape. They beat me up, stuffed things inside my body, beat me until I was unconscious, raped me while I was unconscious. What did they stick inside your body? I asked Xena. A broomstick. How do you know if you were unconscious that they raped you? When I had to go to the toilet afterwards, I could tell by what came out. What did you do after being raped? I sat in my cell waiting for the scars to go away. I got moved to another yard, but the same thing happened. They beat me up, used me as a sex toy, a prostitute, a punk. I said, how come no one would help you? You can't snitch, and the guards won't even believe you. I said, did you think about killing the people who did this to you? I thought about killing myself first. I wanted to, I still do sometimes. At that point, Xena started crying, because Xena wanted me to put this on the internet to raise awareness about prison rape. And Xena started crying at that point. But Xena came back later in the day, and I said, does it mostly happen to young people? He said, yes it does. It can happen to anyone. Big dude, skinny, even the ugliest in the world. People who come to prison who aren't street smart, they're the ones who get preyed on the most. I said, well, how did you stop it? He said, I took the abuse for as long as I could and I started fighting. I won most of the fights. When I stood up and told them I didn't care about getting killed, it stopped. You've got to be ruthless. Now, Xena hadn't told me the truth at this point in time as to how she'd stopped the gang raping business because she didn't want to risk getting any trouble for what she'd done. Zena was studying anatomy, and the next 2 times, she came up with an idea from studying the human body, the next 2 times the gang came to rape Zena, the first member of the gang to put his hand on Zena plucked his eyeball out. Eyeball dangling out on the optic nerve. And Zena saying, I don't care if I live or die. That just shows the extreme lengths Zena had to go to stop this. Now, Zena had a friend back then who was gang raped. They held him down, took a light bulb out, stuck it in his backside and smashed it while it was in there. He had another friend who was gang raped and decapitated. The gang held him down. They cut his head off with a shovel, which is not an easy thing to do and takes some time. When the head was finally off, they picked it up and they put it in an area of the prison where the rival gangs would see it, to make the point that they were the most violent and ruthless out of all of the gangs. So this is the kind of culture that prison is. People go in there as human beings. Most people who go into prison are not murderers, rapists, paedophiles. They're human beings who've made some mistakes in their lives, and they go in there like that, and then they get in this environment, and they're just turned into animals because they're treated like animals. And then they get out, they get released, and they're going to be everybody's neighbours at some point in time. And it's not in society's interest to treat people like that. They should be educated and rehabilitated. Otherwise, they're going to be your neighbour, and they're going to be doing these kind of things that they learn in prison. And that costs society a lot more in the long run. But the public is just so brainwashed by the media, being tough on crime and criminals. That's why right now you've got all these headlines in the UK saying, we need US-style justice, our prisons are too soft here. All that is about is bringing over the private prisons, because they're going to make billions and billions of dollars of taxpayers' money. States like California spend more on prisons now than they do on education. Yeah. Okay, next question. We're going back around again? Okay, over here.
What's the scariest fight you saw in prison?
Alright, early on, as soon as I went in, and I saw so many, I saw several people get beaten until they looked dead. Now, one of the first ones was, a guy was in the shower, a white guy, the whites went in and smashed him, and this big white with cobwebs tattooed on his neck goes up to the leader of the whites who'd smashed him and says, how come we can still hear him, dog? He's like, not good enough. He's like, well, we smashed him good. He's like, oh, not good enough. And he goes in, and it's like he's trying to break the guy's head open like it's a coconut, just crack, 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 crack. Now, this guy's on the floor, he looks dead, and the body's just lying there, because no one's going to say anything to the guards. A guard does a security walk about 10 minutes later. Lock down, everybody, lock down! So we all have to run back to our cells, and I press my face to the window because I want to see what the damage is on this guy, because I've never seen violence at this level before. And they've got him on a stretcher, and there's not just blood coming out of his head, there's yellow fluid, like brain stuff. And I still have nightmares about all the things I saw in there, but I'm not coming to whine about that, because I take full responsibility for putting myself in prison, and it was all part of the punishment. If you guys want to see how real this is, and videos of guards and prisoners murdering prisoners in the jail I was at. CCTV footage and news broadcasts. There's one that's got an Aryan brother murdering an inmate who's refused to beat someone up for the gang. The method he uses to kill him, for 10 minutes he just smashes his head over and over into the concrete. There's a few with the guards murdering the prisoners. The most recent one is in the new maximum security jail. The prisoner's name is Marty Atencio. He's a Latino war hero. His crime was allegedly kicking a door. He's got his back to the wall in a cell.
Kicking a door.
Allegedly kicking